Well, this is JC, of course. I just couldn't stand wondering what was going to happen about these phone calls, and since I do most of my best thinking and writing and such in my old slouch comfortable shirt, and before I've scraped my face, before I've shaved, as some of you might noticed, I do some of my best writing there. I just really got curious about what was going to happen. Now, I had no idea what was going to happen after chapter 22 until I sat down and start writing. So that's what I did. I sat down and I managed to write chapter 23, and I hope you enjoy it. So, without further ado, this is JC uh, right now to read chapter 23 of my book that I entitled Todd. Betsy, Leslie, and Todd briefly discussed the strange phone calls, warning them to not go through with their plans on franchising. They couldn't think of a good reason for the warnings. What could the franchising have to do with anyone else? The only other persons this might affect were other hardware store owners in the area, and the new big store in Dexter, rather not Dexter, but in Mercer, was the only other store in the three cities. It just didn't make any sense to him. Les said she should call home and tell her parents that she would miss church this morning. She would keep the conversation short. She knew they would worry, and she thought she might go over briefly with them what had happened and why she thought she should discuss it with Todd before mentioning it to them. Les made the call, and when her mother asked if everything was okay, Les told her not to worry. She would explain more later, and she briefly outlined what had happened, the strange phone call she received, and the call Betsy received later, obviously from the same man. The phone was on speaker, and Leslie's father was listening to his daughter's story. Now he spoke up and asked if he could be of any help. Les told him that she might need him later, but it was too early now to worry much about anything. Then they said their goodbyes and disconnected. Todd said, "We need to call Junior and Jim and see if they had calls from the mystery man." Betsy and Leslie agreed, and Todd called Junior. Junior answered with an animated, "Well, hello there, young man. What's the good word for today?" Todd replied, "Hi, Junior. I don't know if there is a good word." "Uh-oh," said Junior. "Maybe I don't want to ask what the bad word is. What's up?" "Junior," said Todd, "I need to ask you a question. Have you gotten any weird phone calls from anyone about the franchising?" "No, I haven't," replied Junior. "What's going on?" Todd briefly explained what had happened about the calls Leslie and Betsy had received. "That's why I'm calling to see if you had gotten any." No, I haven't," said Junior. "Do we need to meet about them to discuss them or what?" "It might be a good idea," replied Todd. "Let me call Jim first and see if he has had any calls like this." Junior agreed to this, and he hung up his phone. Todd called Jim, but already knew he wouldn't reach him right now. He was right. He got no answer, and no answering machine telling him to leave a message. He had a strange feeling about this. He told Les there was no answer, and she suggested Jim may be out for a Sunday lunch or something. Betsy suggested maybe Todd should check on him. Todd said it might be better to wait a while and call back. They decided on that course of action. Les thought they should let Junior know so he wouldn't be worried, wondering why it was taking a while longer than he might be expecting. Todd rang Junior's number, and Junior answered immediately. Todd explained the situation to him and told him he would call back in a while. Junior suggested if Jim didn't answer soon, maybe he, Junior, should drive to Mercer and check on him. He knew where Jim lived, and Mercer was only a short distance from Dexter. Todd agreed. He said he would try calling again in a half hour or so. Junior agreed to that, and they hung up their telephones. Todd was getting a very weird feeling. He was beginning to feel like this whole situation wasn't as, quote, dangerous, end quote, as it first appeared. He called Jim again and still got no answer, but he knew Jim was there in Mercer somewhere. He called Junior again and told him of his feeling. Junior offered to go to Mercer, but Todd suggested that he drive up to Dexter and they would go to Mercer together. Junior agreed, and Todd told his mother and Leslie about the feeling and what he and Junior had agreed upon. Betsy immediately said she wanted to go along, as did Leslie. Todd told them both he was glad they wanted to come with him. We can make this an, quote, emergency maybe, end quote, project and make a day out of it, said Todd. Les called her mom's cell phone and told her what they were going to do. Carla said, Dad says to call as soon as you get back, or even from there if you need him, or me, she added. Les agreed and said goodbye. The three of them got into Betsy's car, and with Todd driving, they left Belton and headed out toward Dexter. It didn't take them long to get to Dexter, and Todd drove directly to Junior's store. He stopped right in front of the store and saw Junior waiting just outside his shop. He walked to the car and said, Howdy, y'all. How y'all a-doing? And I got smiles from Todd and the girls, and he said, Might as well get in, and we'll head on over to Mercer, unless someone's hungry or something. Maybe want to eat first. The rest indicated they weren't hungry, so Junior got in the back seat with Betsy, and Todd pulled away from the curb and headed for Mercer. They chatted a bit on the way, and each in his or own turn wondered what this was about. But no one offered an idea as to what was happening. They soon entered Mercer city limits and went first to Jim's store. Junior got out and went to the door and tried the handle. It was locked. It was obvious the store was closed. Then Junior gave Todd directions to Jim's house, and in a minute or so the car stopped in front of the house. Once again, Junior went to the house and knocked, and getting no answer, he tried the doorknob. The door was locked. On a whim, Junior walked around the house to see if Jim was in the backyard. He wasn't. Back in the car, they wondered aloud if anything was wrong and suggested Jim may be in some kind of trouble. Leslie piped up and said, Maybe he's having lunch somewhere, maybe the new mall. I heard there's a Denny's cafe there. Betsy said, Todd, let's go there and see. I'm getting a bit thirsty now anyhow. Todd agreed she could use some. Leslie agreed she too could use something to drink. So Todd pulled the car away from the curb, and with Junior giving him directions, Todd headed the auto toward the mall. The mall covered a large amount of space and had easy entrance and exits. It was a very attractive and modern facility. They immediately spotted the Denny's cafe, and Todd pulled into a parking space very near the entrance. After they got out of the car and Todd had made sure it was locked, they went inside. Just inside the entrance and on the right was a stack of menus on a small square table. Just ahead was a sign which said, Wait to be seated. Almost immediately, a waitress appeared, and taking 4 menus from the stack, she led them to a booth near the right side of the room. Todd and Les sat facing the rear, and Junior and Betsy sat facing the front. A menu was placed in front of each of them, and another waitress brought 4 sparkling glasses of water. She told them her name was Christy, and she would be their waitress. She would give them a few minutes to make their selections, then asked, Anything to drink? They each asked for coffee, and the girl left and came back within a minute with a coffee pot, and she filled the 4 cups that were already on the table with black steaming coffee. Christy smiled and said, Just made, and left. The creamer and the sweetener and sugar were already on the table, and they availed themselves to each as they preferred. Todd lifted his cup to his lips, blowing into it to cool the hot coffee, then stopped abruptly. Looking toward the back of the room, he sat his cup back down, and indicating the direction with a nod of his head toward the back, he said, Look who's here. At the very back, sitting at a small table, having what appeared to be a somewhat heated conversation, was Jim Carlton. Sitting with him, in an obviously off-the-rack suit, was a tall, very skinny young man. They all looked at the pair, and Les said, That's the guy I saw outside the store in Belton. Now, this is the end of chapter 23, my book that I entitled Todd. And I certainly hope that you enjoy it. And If you did, I'd like to see you back when I do chapter 24. Until that time, this is JC saying I'll see you down the road if the good Lord's willing and the creek don't rise. Thank you very much.